Watching News at Prime, let's bring you this now. Deputy Justice Minister Andries Nel says safety in our courts remains the department's top priority. He visited the Athlone Magistrate's Court today after a man was shot and killed there on Friday. The victim was scheduled to appear in court on undisclosed charges, with police confirming that the shooting is gang-related. The Deputy Minister joining us now for more on this conversation. Deputy Minister, good evening to you. Thank you for your time. This is not the first shooting of its kind inside court premises. What is going on based on what you have heard today?
No, thank you very much for the opportunity to address a very, very important issue which goes to the heart of our constitutional democracy and our justice system. Because if the public don't feel safe to go to our courts to enforce their constitutional rights, if those who work in our courts feel unsafe, that's the prosecutors, the magistrates, the judges, the legal aid attorneys, then we have a very big problem. And that's for that reason that I went to the Athlone Magistrate's Court with Judge President of the Western Cape, Judge Mabingla Bokwana, to first see for ourselves firsthand what is going on there, but also to pledge our solidarity and support with those working in the courts, but also to reassure the public that we are doing all in our power to create safe environments in our courts. I think the problem is that we sit with a massive problem of organized crime and gang-related violence in the Western Cape. Over the past year, over 2,000 people have been killed. We know that gangs have infested our prisons, that many of them operate out of those prisons, being able to send contraband with awaiting trial prisoners, remand detainees to our courts, and sometimes also with instructions to eliminate their opponents.
Yeah.
For that reason, we need to stand together as the executive and the judiciary, and within the executive, it requires a whole-of-government approach. Justice, police, correctional services to deal with this matter.
Yeah. Before we talk about the measures, Deputy Minister, because I think that's what is going to assure not only court orderlies, but also the general public who use our courts to settle disputes. Let's remind the viewers that we are not being sensationalist when we say this is not the first incident of its kind. The Portfolio Committee put out a statement on the back of the very shooting that you went to investigate today. And part of that statement reminded us that last month, a 24-year-old man was shot dead and another injured outside the Mitchell's Plain Magistrates Court. In April of this year, a man who was waiting in the corridors of the Wynberg Magistrates Court was shot dead. These are just some of the incidents, as you say. What is going to be done practically to make sure that people feel safe?
No, thank you very much for giving that background. Indeed, it is not the first instance. After the Wynberg incident, I also visited that court to assure myself and the department that indeed adequate metal detector devices had been deployed there. And it's significant that on the very same morning that we were visiting the Athlone court, we got reports that there had been an attempt to smuggle in a firearm at Wynberg. However, due to the measures that we have put in place, it was detected, the firearm was confiscated, and the suspect has been detained by the police. So yes, we are facing very, very serious challenges, but we are responding to those and we are responding successfully.
Yeah. The understanding here, Deputy Minister, as the chair of the Portfolio Committee, put it in their statement that the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, which is what you lead, is not directly responsible for securing the courts or basically providing safety and security. This is a joint responsibility of the police and the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. What conversations are being had there?
Thank you very much for that. That is so indeed. But we made it very clear today, it is not a time for blame shifting, for pointing fingers. We are all in this together. Yes, it might not be the sole preserve of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, but as the department responsible for the administration of our courts, especially the district and the regional courts, we owe it to the people of South Africa to ensure that we could coordinate effectively with the police, with public works and other agencies. For that reason, we have organized a meeting with the Judge President of the Western Cape and the Minister of Police, which will be taking place on Wednesday to discuss exactly these issues, to raise with the Minister some of the requests that have been made by those who work in our court for greater police visibility outside our courts, to consider the deployment of mobile stations, also to screen more carefully those who are deployed to work as court orderlies, and to give consideration to the establishment of dedicated police units to take responsibility for safety in and around our courts.
Yeah. Finally, Deputy Minister, these incidents, someone is going to say they have the potential to members of the public feeling not only less safe, but they could lessen the confidence in our criminal justice system, because it's not only alleged gang members targeting those that they see as fellow gang members who could potentially rat them out, if I could put it glibly in that way. But if you have prosecutors targeted as well, Tracy Brown was laid to rest not too long ago. This is a prosecutor in Gqeberha. And again, she was targeted, we understand, even though there is no conclusive evidence yet, but this could potentially have had to do with the work that she was doing. That has the potential for people to worry about confidence in South Africa's criminal justice system. Is that a worry for you as well?
I think to put it bluntly, I think you're putting it very mildly. This is an assault not just on our criminal justice system. This ultimately is an assault on our constitutional democracy. Because the day that the public and those officials who work in our courts don't feel safe, don't feel confident to go to or to work in our courts, that very central pillar of our constitutional democracy, an independent judiciary, is imperiled. And with that, the entire constitutional edifice is imperiled. And that is why we take it so seriously. That is why after this incident took place on Friday, by Monday, Judge President Bokwana and I were there on site. And we will be having follow-up engagements with the Minister of Police. I can just also say that tomorrow I will be joining the Minister and the Deputy Ministers of Police in Mitchell's Plain and Mfuleni to engage with the community on the broader issue which is driving a lot of this, and that is gang violence and organized crime.
To end the conversation, Deputy Minister Nel, I use the word sensationalism in my last question to you, or the second last question. But when you look at all of these, do these bear the hallmarks of a mafia state? People who are willing to go to such an extent of executing someone
inside a court. Is that where we are, or you think that now is sensationalist?
I don't think you are being sensationalist by posing those questions, because they, as I said, they are very, very serious. However, in my own view, it's important to conduct public discourse on these very serious matters using terminology and concepts that are precise and that can lead us ultimately to action, which will provide solutions. The question as to whether this is characteristic of a mafia state in many ways can very easily become a very, very academic debate and discussion. The fact of the matter is we have a serious problem when people don't feel safe and secure to go to that fundamental edifice of our constitutional democracy, independent courts. And whether we characterize it as a mafia state or whatever, it is serious and it needs to be dealt with, and we are dealing with it.
Andries Nel, thank you very much for your time, Deputy Minister in the portfolio of Justice and Constitutional Development.